I am resident of Collinwood for YouTube, Joel Saints, joined by the author of To Benight, Beguile, Sean Phillip BettenCourt. How are you, man?
I'm doing very good. How about you?
I'm going crazy. Uh, but no. But first of all, congratulations on your views, man. You've not just created one successful vlog into the Return of Dark Shadows, but now you got two in To Benight and Beguile.
Which I'm very, very surprised by. This month has hit almost 3,000 views just this month. I can't even, I mean, it's shocking, honestly. I'm very, very happy about that.
Why are you, guys? Why are you surprised?
Well, here's the thing. I'm surprised because as you know, I always talk about how important it is to like talk about the story with people who are reading it so you can kind of get a feedback. So far you've been my saving grace. I've only really heard from you. So to see that there are people reading it but not talking about it, it sort of makes me feel like, okay, maybe they're just clicking and they're not reading. Or maybe they're reading and they're just too shy to talk about it. So it's sort of like it's one of those things where I can't figure out the magic recipe to get people who are reading it, those 2,000 clicks, to talk about it. So I kind of figure out like, am I doing this good? Is this a shitty story? Is it a good story? I need that kind of feedback. But that's the thing. I can't figure out that little magic sauce to get everybody talking about it.
Oh no, it's really, really good. I mean, you got a lot of interesting characters in here, and it's really addictive to read. I told my wife when I was reading it on Monday. She's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm reading John's story." I said, "Holy shit!" I said, but so I do. I think what it is with people, it's like they don't want to like comment all the time because reading, you know, this when you read something that takes time,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
again, everyone's on different time. Like I don't know what time zone your readers are on, but
True, true.
you know what I mean. Like it's weird because like this, I'm on. You know this. I'm on YouTube. I don't always get a bunch of comments, so it's
But
just like
it's one of those things. Like I mean, like with all your stuff too. You know how it is. I mean, you just want to get a little bit of feedback to see like how you want to progress the story. Do you know what I mean? Like sort of to like, oh, they didn't really like this part of the story. Maybe I should tweak it a little bit. It always helps. It always helps to give you kind of a fresh idea of what's really going on outside of your brain. But no, but like I said, I really, really appreciate your feedback. You've been so important to my whole process. So I really appreciate you. Just want to say that right now. You've done so much for people like me.
want to hear the biggest guilty party of not reading something is
What is it?
Julie Sains.
Oh
That
no, don't say that.
I send her my stories. I said, "Hey, did you read what I said?" No. I said, "Did you read what I said?" No. And I'm telling you what, I was just like, okay.
Well,
I'm like,
vice president of that club is Christopher. He doesn't read anything I write either. Well, no, that's not true. He did read my earlier stuff, but he's not really into the gothic fiction. So he didn't read any Dark Shadows. He didn't read any Beguiled. So yeah, he and Julie are the president and vice president of the non-readers club.
well, she's like, "Why do you want me to read?" I was like, "I just want to know if it sucked ass. That's all." I said, "You can
That's
tell." Look,
exactly.
like if you could tell me that, She goes, "You really want me to tell you if it sucked?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, uh, I can take
the
it."
the thing about Chris is he'll be like, "Oh, that's spelled wrong. Oh, that's spelled wrong." I'm like, "I'm not asking about spelling. I'm asking about like, do you like the story?"
Like I don't need you to spell check anything. I just need you to
Yeah,
tell me if it's what I'm writing is good or entertaining.
yeah,
But God,
exactly. Entertaining. Are you entertained? Like you said, addicted. Are you addicted? Do you want to hear more? Do you want to go back to the next chapter? That's really
yeah,
important. But
yeah, feedback. Yeah, feedback helps, right?
totally.
So here's my first. I don't think I asked you this question when you first did this story. Why To Be Night and Beguile? Why the title?
So I wanted to kind of, I mean, this is going to sound very pretentious, but I wanted to kind of have a title that made, um, uh, that kind of gave you an idea of what was going to happen in the story. So, but of course, I wanted it to sound mysterious. So it is pretty a mysterious title. So To Be Night, I looked up a word that meant to cover in darkness or to be cloaked in darkness, and that word came up, and I thought, oh my god, that's such a great word. but I didn't want it just to be called Benight. So I kind of like thought about other words that kind of rhymed with it or sounded good with it. And Beguiled came up, which sort of gives a good little tease to what it is. And Beguiled is sort of like you're sort of entrapped in a spell, or not literally, but you're sort of, interested in something, or you're kind of under some kind of like, love spell in a way. You're so basically Benight is Sebastian, Beguiled is Evie. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, is create a weird sort of double title that kind of represented both of the main characters, but in a way that didn't give away the plot.
What was the hardest thing for you to write for this chapter?
For the final chapter?
Or sorry, for the book. I'm sorry.
You mean for the entire part?
Yeah, for book 3. Sorry.
Oh, book 3. Oh gosh. The hardest part was that's a really tough question. Probably Rebecca. Rebecca has a scene with Gregory where she kind of goes off, and I wanted to give her a monologue. And a lot of times, my chapters were getting really, really long at one point. So I was cutting everything into and moving it to the next chapter. So chapter 13 got split into 14, and 14 became 15. So kind of like that's why it became such a long series. But I still wanted to give Rebecca this kind of long monologue without making that part of chapter 15 super, super lengthy. But I wrote it, and I thought, how do I make this long and powerful enough, but not to where it bores the reader? So I think that was my big challenge, is creating these dialogues with the characters, not just Rebecca, but most of them, and keep them interesting so that the people reading it would want to know more and still want to click over to the next chapter without being too bored. Rebecca is my example because she has the biggest dialogue that I've ever written for a character.
Now, you always, with your chapters, you always leave like this little character, to me anyway, from my opinion, my reader standpoint, you always leave like these little character hints that they might know something or suspect something. And that always like keeps me interested in the characters you're writing. So with Rebecca, it was like, you knew she had a history with, oh gosh, what's that? The witch lady.
Eliza.
Yeah, Eliza. Okay. Sorry. And I'm thinking, man, what's she going to do here now that she's in jail? And when she said Eliza, I'm like, oh, shit.
Yes. She basically, like, she's really out for, she's hurt that Eliza destroyed her life way back in the beginning. And so she keeps pushing the plot further by not getting, trying to get herself out of jail, but also putting somebody else into jail.
Here's a question: does Jacob really care who shot him? Because when I was reading this final chapter here, he's like, I don't remember, but it's like at the same time he felt like he didn't really give a shit either.
I think, yeah, well, you're right. He's very selfish. So at one point he is very much like he wants to find out who does it, and even though he, in the beginning of the series, he literally doesn't have memory of it. He gains his memory back, but he still doesn't know who did it because the person was cloaked in black. But there is a point, you're right, he does kind of give up on it because he's very, very infatuated with Celeste, and that kind of changes his perspective. He wants to now fully devote himself to Celeste because he's obsessed with her.
Jacob, buddy, if it were Charles Bronson, you wouldn't be breathing. I really like how, like, he's like that, because you're right, he doesn't remember it, like he doesn't remember who shot him, and so when he's answering that, he's like, he is honest about certain things, like I don't know, and he can't, but at the same time, it's like he seems like he tells I like how he tells his mother, stop worrying about it, stop interfering with the constable, like, and that shocked me in this chapter, him saying that to her.
I think that he's definitely trying to, move on with it. He doesn't want to deal with, all that bad juju, because he's full of his own bad juju. He's very selfish. He really cares only about what's going on in his life, and is trying to push all the other stuff away, because it kind of, that the shooting and the investigation and all that stuff, even though he's involved in it, it doesn't really. It moves on past him. It's like it's involving all these other people. So he's kind of very jealous that it's not seriously surrounding him. He wants to, be all about him.
Can I give you? I'm going to give you credit because you know how to set up a double cross. Ashia really shocked the shit out of me today, dude.
She is. She had some stuff going on in her life, so she really had she wanted Andrew pretty much screwed, if I could say that word.
Well, you can pretty much say whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she wanted to fuck with him. She hated him so much. I mean, she had, this plan of hers was years in the making, and she finally had it come to fruition right at the end, as it would.
With her, like, revealing her backstory, like right here in this chapter, you were really setting it up in the prior chapters that there was something about her, but you weren't exactly sure, as a reader, mind you, is what I mean. You weren't sure who she was really after.
Mm-hmm.
I really like how you did that because it kept me really interested in her. Like, okay, like she's coming to Dr. Kim for help. Like she tracks his ass down in the cemetery, which felt creepy. That felt like Edgar Allan Poe stuff. Like, oh hey, but I was really shocked that she betrayed him and he was the cause for some of her, and the cannibal was related to her. I was shocked by all that.
Yeah, she definitely had this axe to grind with him. He locked her father up and he treated him terribly. Andrew comes off as a very nice person with some bad history himself, because Jacob is also blackmailing him for most of his time in the story. So you kind of, I felt sorry for him, even though I wrote him sort of that way. But at the end, you find out that he's just as disgusting as Jacob. I mean, he treated all of his patients terribly. He treated Evie very badly. He treated Albert, which was Jacob's father, who was also at Wyncliffe. It's a backstory as well that he was there, and then also Ash's father. So even though Asha knows how disgusting her dad was and that he was a monster, she still wanted him treated with some sort of dignity. And Andrew didn't do that.
I was really shocked by Alice's death. Why kill her off?
Me too. I actually really like Alice. I like both of Alice and Matthew. They're two of my favorites. Well, sometimes you got to let someone go to move a character forward, and Nicholas is turning into one of the main characters, and so a lot of things are going to happen with him next time. So I wanted to push him further outside of the box. That is, so far everything that's happened to him revolves around Evie. So I wanted to give him some sort of freedom, and if I kept him tied to Alice, that means she's tied to Evie, which would keep him more tied to Evie as well, because they're super close. And Matthew is involved too. So they're like two couples that are intertwined because they're siblings. Evie is Nicholas's sibling, and Matthew is Alice's sibling, and it keeps them sort of tied together too much. So I wanted to break that up somehow, and somebody had to die.
Did you flip a coin before giving her the axe, or no?
No, actually, I knew she was going to be the one, because Evie and Matthew are getting super close, and of course Evie is not going to die. She's my main character, and I actually really like the idea of having Nicholas around for Evie, so had to be Alice.
Okay. Is there? I get the sense that there's a lot going on because there is a lot going on with magic in your story, with witches and even Alice. Is there even more magic to come? Because now you have this Caspian guy who's the devil.
Mm-hmm.
That's dark as fuck.
There's a lot of magic coming up. There's a lot of There's a whole, let's see, without spoils, there's one, two. Okay, so Caspian. So there will be 3 characters next time that are involved in black magic.
Oh wow! Now, Constable Rains. It was revealed that he was a witch hunter and he was after Eliza. but she was able to get out with the help of her daughter Mary, who's now in a relationship with Phillip. Was Eliza another one that you sort of had to kill off?
Yeah, yeah, I did because of Caspian. So I didn't want to have two, very, very powerful beings together. Just sort of, if you think about like Dark Shadows, there's
Right.
always one, head honcho who's the powerful one, and then sometimes another character sort of goes away or dies, and that person can kind of create havoc, and then the other one comes back. So there's never two at the same time. And I thought, you know what, in this universe, Caspian and Eliza they can't be together. There's no way that they would work together, in a story. So one of them had to go, and I really like the devil right now. So Eliza had to die.
It's the way you like did Caspian. It reminded me of how Walter B. Gibson did the Faithful 50. There's a scene in one of the Shadow novels where this man gets nailed by the Shadow. He's turned over to the police, and he gives this symbol to this cop because he knows he sees something familiar in him, and he gives the symbol of the Faithful 50, and which is a secret organization.
Mm-hmm.
I like how you did Caspian. It sort of reminded me of that a bit.
Yeah, he's definitely, I guess, his that sort of connection that you're mentioning, a secret society. That's
Yeah.
sort of true. I mean, he runs their coven. They're the
Right.
coven of the Sisters of Highgrove is their name of their coven, and they're sort of led by him. He's, this demon that they're sort of pledged to. So yeah, that is their own secret society.
Yeah, that's what it was me.
No, I totally, I got it. Yeah.
But because he wants to recruit Mary. I'm just like, damn.
Yeah, he wants to recruit Mary, and he's very, very interested in Sebastian.
Yeah, I really like how Sebastian saves Grace at the end of this chapter when he just pretty much tells Satan to piss off.
Yeah. Well, the poor guy, he's been through hell. He's been through everything and up and everything, throughout the whole three books. So I thought I'd give him what's the word? We're in a redemption. I'd give him a little redemption at the end and make him do something nice and not actually team up with the devil right away.
You had a talk to me about Aurora. Talk to me about Evie and Nicholas's mom.
So Aurora is an American. She is from New York that married a British guy. So she's been in England this whole time, but she is an American. Her kids are British, but she's an American. So she is took it took 12 chapters for her to finally get from England to the United States, but I didn't have room for her most of the book, so I had to bring her in right at the end. She is uh, she has her own little secrets. She is not divulging them just yet, but she does have a secret that happened in England while Evie and Nicholas were in Welshport. She's hiding it with her. She has it with her, and that's going to be revealed very, very soon in book 4. Hopefully this spring, if I can get it all written out.
I see. I'm excited now for book 4. You got.
She's going to be. There's going to be a lot going on with her. She's connected to a lot of the family, not relationship wise, but she's going to cause some trouble, and it's going to be very, very interesting.
I know I asked you this one before, but does Jacob finally believe that there's? I know there's times he cares, there's times he's interested, and there's times he's not. But does he actually finally believe that there's more shit going on than the normal shit, or no?
I think he's always believed it. I think he knows exactly what's going on. I just think that because of how he's just very self-centered, and it doesn't really suit him to sort of go down that path.
Right.
He's all about getting his money and being, the wealthy person that he is. He wants nothing more than just to be some fat cat rich guy and not deal with all the other stuff. So he's always believed it. He just would rather not deal with it because it doesn't suit him. It doesn't push his narrative. You know what I mean? So eventually something's going to have to break and he's going to have to snap out of his own selfishness. So maybe book 4 is where that happens. You never know.
Right. His mom Rebecca is real religious, and but she also consults spiritual guides, which Caspian is her new spiritual guide. Um, on a scale of 1 to 10, how fucked is Rebecca?
A 13. You have no idea what I have planned for her. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. She literally makes a deal with the devil, and she doesn't even know it. She has no idea.
Yeah, with Cass, with or not Caspian, but with Gaspar, he was a fake.
He was a fake, right? And she believed every word he said. So now this guy is for real. You know something really bad's going to happen.
It's like your psychic advisor may not be who you think he is. Next on Maury, but no, no, but oh my god, but it's really, I'm thinking, oh my god, she's consulting casuals. You know, what's wrong with this woman? Then when you revealed he was the devil, I'm like, oh my god, that girl. Like,
She's
dude, that
screwed.
was, yeah, it's like, oh shit. But is is there something that Matthew is keeping from either Evie or Nicholas?
Yes and yes.
Oh, I won't. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil
Yeah, it's I gave a little hint
it.
at the funeral, so there is something that he's hiding from both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm asking him when I read that. I'm like, I'm asking him. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna have you reveal it because I don't want you to spoil your story. But oh
It's
my
yeah,
god,
it's gonna be good. I'm so excited. I'm really excited to write it. I've only written the first chapter of book 4.
I'm excited for it, man. You do a really great job with this, and the fact that you have now another successful blog story is awesome, dude. I think
I'm very lucky. I'm very, very lucky.
who's how many. I don't think this was spoiling. How many new characters do you have? Because you always bring a good deal of new characters to your stories, and you introduced. We had Nick. You had Nicholas. You had Alice, Evie, Caspian. You always find a way to introduce new characters. How many do you think you have coming in book 4?
Let's see. So at the end of book 3, I officially introduced Caspian. I mean, he was around there throughout, but he was sort of like made his appearance for sure at the end. Now you know he's going to come back. I also have Genevieve, who's the doppelganger of Sabrina, and Jonathan, and I think that's it, right? And Aurora. So those 4. So they've all been introduced now, and then we'll learn more of them in book 4.
Okay. I really like how Genevieve looks like Sabrina. I'm thinking when you had that, I looked at the picture before I was reading the words. I'm thinking, is that Sabrina?
She's definitely in for a shock as well once she gets to Tyrmore House.
I think a lot of other people were in for a shock too.
The whole town was.
Yeah, they're looking at her. I'm like, I had to do the Michael Myers head tilt for like 5 minutes. I'm like, yeah, yeah. But yeah, she and Jonathan tells her, well, you remind them of something. Oh my God. Jonathan, dude, just tell her. And he seems like a very cool, relaxed cat, Jonathan.
So far, he is as cool as it can be. I mean, he doesn't know the extent of what he's getting himself into. He knows that his sister is married into this really rich family that he's also now part of. He learns that his dad was really somebody else. He learns that the lords are actually his blood family. He's half lord, half Diviana. So he has this like weird like sensibility that he's excited about actually learning so many things about his past that he didn't know about. So there is an excitement about him. But he doesn't really know what's behind those walls. He thinks it's all, fun and fancy free, but it's actually much darker than what he expects.
So he's not expecting the danger.
Not yet, anyway.
Okay. I sort of got that sense from him, like because he's focused on, he tries to focus on life as it is.
Right, right.
From my standpoint, from my reader's
Mhm.
standpoint. So I apologize if I'm getting anything wrong.
Not at all. Not at all. You got it all right. And I should say that Celeste did warn him that Jacob was dangerous, but
Yeah.
that's all she's really told him. She hasn't told him that a ghost pushed her down the stairs. She hasn't told him that, that Sebastian is back from the dead and he might be lurking around some corner. She hasn't told him there's a dead body under the gazebo. He doesn't know all those parts.
Jonathan, buddy, I got a story to tell you.
You would think his sister would say, "Hey, by the way, a ghost pushed me down the stairs and I gave birth to a baby that same night."
Yeah. Hey, by the way, yeah, you know how my baby came? Yeah, a ghost just shoved my ass down the steps. But no big deal.
Who just happens to look like your girlfriend.
Your girlfriend is a spitting image of a dead woman. It's all good.
It's all good. It's fine. It's normal.
No, that's gonna be crazy to read. I can't wait, dude. I'm trying to think. The town itself, they seem torn between being agitated with the family itself and Eliza's family.
They are definitely more agitated and interested in the Lord family, and I think that they're more of afraid of the Good family. They
Right.
have this sort of like a fantasy of what the Lords really are, that they're this wealthy family, that they're glamorous, that they have all these good things. Yet they also realize that a lot of bad things constantly happen to them. And then the Good family has this bad reputation. And Mary was sort of, when she first started in the story in series one or book one, she, everybody knew she had this bad reputation, that she was sort of this, she abandoned her daughter supposedly, and that she, was all these bad things that Jacob sort of told everybody, which wasn't true. And of course, now everyone realizes that Eliza was this witch. I mean, half the town went to her island with torches and pitchforks to try to kill her. So they know that she's bad. So there's that kind of like, who's the real baddie? Are the Lords the bad ones? Are the Goods the bad ones? Which one's which? And so they're all conflicted, but at the same time, they're super, super fascinated by them.
So Nicholas found out the truth of how the Lords got the land. What? I don't know. I don't. No, you know what? I'm not going to ask that because that would be like revealing what's in your story. But he still got that diary.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That
He you can reveal part of it. It's basically the two characters, Matthew and Alice, are
Right.
Native American characters. And when I created them as Native American, I thought, oh crap, I can't just have them be Native American and that's it. Like there has to be something. They're on a part of American soil that wasn't always American soil, was something else. And I didn't want to cheapen it by not telling that part. So I thought, what should I do that would give this, some kind of backstory? And that's where the whole taking of their land sort of truth came out, that, all of their people were annihilated by the white people that came in and planted, settled in that area. So it just becomes this, kind of like a backstory of the people of that land. And that's why that land is so haunted.
No, I was going to ask you what else is he going to do with that information, but I didn't want to.
Oh. Good. You know what? I don't know. I will note that, and maybe that's something that will come of that.
I'm like, no, I don't want to ask that because I'd be like asking what's, you know what I mean? It felt like I was asking a spoiler. So
No, that's okay. You could spoil it. The series is done, so I'm glad to talk about anything.
okay, so with Alice, the late Alice, sorry, and Matthew being Native American, is Matthew gonna, I guess, channel some of his powers now?
Very good question, Matthew. so far has only really hinted at what he can do. He has really suppressed what has been given. Alice was totally into it. She loved it. She, took it all in and really flourished with what she was given, with the powers that she was given. Matthew hasn't. Matthew has wanted to be more normal, quote unquote normal. He's wanted to fit in more. He feels safer if he fits in. So at the end, I think chapters 13 and 12, or 12 and 14, I'm not sure which ones, but the later ones, you kind of get a hint at that he does have something going on, but I'm not sure when he'll reveal it to his own, when he'll start using it for his own good. Not sure yet.
Right.
It'll happen. I just don't know when.
Right. I just because at the funeral it was like he's hitting around. So.
Yeah, exactly. The funeral, and I can't remember. There was another. Oh, the scene with Sebastian and the wolves. Remember the wolves kind of switch sides.
Yeah.
That scene too.
Okay, we're not gonna spoil anything, but
okay, I'm sorry.
no, I don't want you know what I mean. I don't want you to give anything away that you might have planned, but trying to think. Have we heard the last of Wincliffe Sanitarium?
Yes, I think my Easter egg for Dark Shadows is a little done for that part. I did name Julian the cannibal. That's named after Julia Hoffman.
Okay.
And of course, Ash's last name is Hoffman.
Yeah. Their last name's Hoffman. I'm thinking, I don't think she's related to Dr. Hoffman. Nah, she's not related to Dr.
She's not related to them, but I wanted to give a little wink to Julia.
I actually was telling Christine Pierce and Carrie Tillings, I left the link to The Return of Dark Shadows. I said, hey, go read this. It's really good. And I did not want to spoil anything for them. I said, he does something really interesting with Dr. Julia Hoffman and gives her a bit of a backstory too, way, way later on. But I didn't reveal what you did. So.
Oh, I hope they like it.
So, and then somebody else on Twitter was asking me about any Dark Shadows fan fiction. I said The Return of Dark Shadows. So.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That story survives me. Will live on forever. I love it.
Well, I'm a Dark Shadows enabler. So when someone tells me they're not watching Dark Shadows, I'm like, why the fuck aren't you watching Dark Shadows? What the fuck's wrong with you?
It has been such an inspiration for me. I love that show, man. I sometimes if I'm bored, I'm like, God, why am I not watching it right now? I could just put it on. And Peacock has it on, just the first part, the Barnabas introduction. They have those episodes on there.
Yeah, just the Barnabas introduction. And if you want to watch the whole thing, it's on Tubi, or you could be like my hapless ass and own the Coffin box set. And
it's also Pluto. Pluto has a Dark Shadows channel.
Yeah, sell your immortal soul along with your money. But so yeah, it's really cool that now that Dark Shadows is all over streaming. I mean, that's that's not a great sign, I don't know what is.
It's the only show from that era, it's the only soap opera from that era that has had the lifespan this way. Yeah. No other show has. You can find clips on YouTube of other old soaps from the 60s and 70s and 80s, but you cannot find full episodes in that quality. And I mean, it's just nowhere. You can't do it. Like, Edge of Night or Search for Tomorrow. Those old soaps. None of those exist the way Dark Shadows does. It's amazing.
It was a show that was ahead of its time.
Oh my God, so ahead of its time.
Yeah, it really was. We're going to talk about Julia Hoffman here in a moment, but I think I have one final question for you. Yeah. What's for book 3? What's something that you were even shocked you put in here?
Evie staking Sebastian.
Yeah.
I think I knew that she had to do something, but they had to break up. I mean, that's a couple. They have to split up and come back together, split up and come back together. And I was like, how am I going to do this? I want it to be almost, final for a while. And I thought, well, shit, she's got to kill him. So she staked him, and then I was like, no, I don't want him dead, so I brought him back. But so yeah, staking Sebastian was probably the biggest thing I did.
I do see. I'll go back to when Eliza did turn Sebastian into a vampire. She didn't say he could die by normal means. He could die by light, and that was it. I'm thinking that's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm. So he definitely has to stay in the dark. Hence my Benight title.
But it's a really, really great story. Obviously, link is going to be in the description box after we get done here. But about Dr. Julia Hoffman.
Yes. Let's talk about Julia.
Where does John Phillip Bettencourt, the great writer who should have at least one or two shows on Netflix by now?
Thank you. Netflix, Hulu, call me.
Where do you think she went or is?
So I sort of love the idea. I mean, we know where Sam Hall had wrote this little thing for, I think it was TV Guide, back when Dark Shadows went off the air. And so when I was doing my story, I thought, well, I want to keep it as close as possible to the original, as close as possible as I can, and keep sort of like, those threads within the story. And so when I wanted to bring Julia Hoffman into it, I researched what what the end, what happened to her at the end of the show, and kind of like wanted to piece together that exit, because at the end of the show it wasn't really 1960s, it was, or 1970, it was like parallel time, so it's kind of hard to go back and try to piece together where she would have gone. But then I found that document. It was like a PDF of a page of TV Guide where he says what he thought the show would have done had it stayed on the air. And when I read it, he says that that Julia and Barnabas, and I think he said Willie, go to the Far East, and they're working on some kind of blood transfusion situation. So I used that. I thought that's a really great idea. That'd be a great opening piece to where she would have gone. So that's what I did. I chose that, and that's where I kept it. I wanted to keep it as close to Sam Hall's idea as possible.
Yeah, you can I'm going to leave another link too. You can actually find what John said. John is saying there's a video about it on YouTube narrated by Roger Davis.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool.
I'll send it to you on Messenger, but
okay,
it's on there. It has where all the characters went, and it does say about they went to the Far East, like you're saying.
Is it TV Guide? Am I right by saying that he wrote it for TV Guide, or was it something else?
He had wrote it for TV Guide.
Okay.
But Roger Davis did a narration of it.
Ah, I did not know that.
And so I don't think it was exclusively done for YouTube. I think this was done for a video or something. Mm-hmm. And they just released it on, whoever released it on YouTube. It's been out there for a while, so
yeah.
But I'll send it to you when we get done here.
Yeah.
This is tough for me because I love Sam Hall too, but I think after everything Barnabas and Julia went through, I mean, not just the parallel time stuff, but the time travel, the 1840, Judah Zachary, and coming back to Collinwood and everything was normal. Julia, somebody, whether it be Julia or Barnabas, had to figure this ain't over.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of think, and again, I'm not making a prediction. I'm not saying this is fact. We are stating our opinion. Do not crucify us. But if you do, Julie first. Anyway, no. I'm kidding. Anyway, no. I think that part of me thinks that the person who's doing the Return of Dark Shadows, Mark B. Perry, is going to include Julie in a big way.
Ooh,
because how do you not have Julia figure this ain't? I mean, she's a smart character. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't over, and she had to believe. And I think. Because keep in mind, here's this woman who had samples of Barnabas's blood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how they're going to bring Barnabas back, is by Julia. Julia knows where Barnabas is buried. I think Barnabas is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And she either told Willie or Quentin or both, because that, to me, those are the two people she would have trusted most.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, John Carlin passed away, but David Selby's still alive, so that leaves Quentin. That if something comes back, whatever it is, go get Barnabas, and deal with it.
There's a lot of really cool ways. I mean, if you think about it, when the show ended, it was this early 70s, and cryogenics was kind of just coming out, and people were talking about it all the time. You're right. I mean, she's a smart woman. She's a scientist. She could have easily figured out a way to keep Barnabas on ice. Maybe he did die somehow, but she kept him frozen. You're right. You have exactly the right idea. The samples of blood and the tissue and all the different things that she could have kept in her journals. Another fun thing is, what if somebody, let's say Julia dies of, she's older now. It's supposed to be in present day, so she would have been probably dead. But what if somebody finds her journals and discovers, there's some sort of secret passage where Barnabas is being hidden in some cryogenic frozen thing, and brings him back? Somebody could find that journal and use it, or find his blood samples. There's all these cool ways that they can do it. Or what if she even froze herself?
Now, what's weird is in the Robert Patterson piece of shit shadow novel that he wrote, he used the shadow. He used Lamont Cranston being frozen.
Oh,
that's how Lamont Cranston got to the future. Which, that's the only good part about that fucking book. That's it. That's okay. He got the shadow to the future. Great. And then there was the rest of it. But anyway, I fuck, dude. There's moments I want to scream, and that book's it.
I'm not one for burning books, but maybe that one deserves it.
Well, look. When you take a character, when a writer takes a character that has always worn a black cloak, a turned down brim hat, and carried two pistols, and had this weird sinister laugh when they were offing people, and the Shadow murdered motherfuckers. I mean, that's what he would do. He would kill them. He was evil fighting evil. And you take that very core and you strip it down and strip it away and make the character unidentifiable to people who know the character. What are they fucking reading? It's. But I do think. Sorry, I got off.
No, that's cool.
I got off on a rant there, but I do. I think they did initially go places, Julia and Barnabas. I sometimes think Barnabas maybe took Julia to England, because where does he say he's from when he comes? Oh, I'm your cousin from England. Well, maybe he finally went there, and maybe they got off an adventure. Maybe they re-met Adam. Who knows? Because Adam's still out there.
I think that was part of the Sam Hall thing too. I think it mentions Adam. I don't remember exactly what they said, but it was something about Adam as well. Something about finding some cure, and Adam's involved. Yeah. But I like that idea. That's the great thing about Dark Shadows, is that there's so many endless possibilities, because it ended really in a weird way, that you can pick a character and write a whole fan fiction on just that one character. You can take them to another place, and they can have a full life outside of Collinwood, because the characters are so open, and most of them don't have backstories. I mean, we don't know anything about Willie. We don't know anything about Julia. We don't know anything about, you can name anybody. Maggie's family. God, we don't know anything about the Evans family. We don't know much about her mom. We don't know much about Sam's past. You know what I mean? So there's all these different pieces of the puzzle that create a full, world that you can create based off of blank canvas, which is why I love the show so much.
Yeah, it's really entertaining too. I mean, it's not a show that bores you at all, no matter how
no way
watch it.
And it's so bingeable. I mean, you can watch each episode back to back to back for hours and not realize you've been watching for 7 hours, you know?
Yeah, when I went through like the coffin box set repeatedly, my wife's like, "How many times are you gonna go through that thing?" I said, "As many times as I can."
You're gonna need a backup coffin set.
Yeah, Julie would make me a coffin first, personally. But that's what that would be, dog. But I'd be buried in the dirt somewhere alive, like, hey. But she that see, that's the thing too. Like, that coffin box set's like over $300, and
I know.
when she bought me that, I was like so happy. But I'm thinking, what did you use? She goes, I used a credit card. When we paid off the credit card, I was like relieved.
Yeah, I mean,
Shit.
it's one of those things where you just have, I mean, you're the perfect person to get it for, though, you know? You
Uh,
love the show so much. I've wanted it for so long, but I don't even know if I have space for it in my little apartment. It's, I definitely would, yeah, it's definitely something I'm thinking of, though.
I see, like, when I send you stuff, I'm thinking, I hope this isn't Crowd John or something.
No, not at all. Oh my God, no, 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 no. But a coffin DVD set might be.
I'll receive a letter. What the hell?
No, 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 never.
No, but it's really interesting to see what Mark Perry's gonna do. I mean, and that's the beautiful thing too. Like, yeah, fans are so like interested in what, you know. Somebody just messaged me the other day and said, "Have you heard anything?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't heard nothing." It's just like,
Yeah, I haven't heard much either, but it's a tough job because Dark
yeah,
Shadows fans are really, really passionate.
yeah,
And the moment one thing, that they don't like, they'll
uh,
really shit on the idea. And I think that's really unfortunate. I think if more of us were just kind of like, hey, let's let the new creators take it wherever they want and enjoy it, enjoy the ride, I think that would be great because they at least would have it on the air. And then, as long as the show is on the air, they can always like tweak a story and make it better or bring in somebody that the fans have been watching or wanting for so long. Let's say, for example, if he does do it and Barnabas isn't around, people are going to bitch and moan that there's no Barnabas. Well, that can be
yeah.
changed. If you keep watching it, you give the show ratings, they can change that for season 2 or season 3 or whatever. That's really important, is just to support something regardless of how you personally don't feel about it, not to take it personally, not to take Mark Perry's um, whatever he comes out with, not to take it personal against you, because I sometimes think some Dark Shadows fans are very, it's a very personal show to them, so they take
Yeah.
it to heart that it's not reflecting something they want it to reflect. And that's sort of unfair to the new creators because they're just trying to bring something back to life that they love as well.
Well, that's the thing too. When somebody says, "Well, they don't want," I'm thinking, you realize the writers, like Sam, like, they didn't know where they were taking Barnabas. I mean, that's,
Right.
like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be interesting to see what he does, or when we get to see it. You know what I mean? But I do
I,
think
re-
that
I really
Julie,
hope that it comes out with something. I mean, it'd be very, very cool to see. I feel
yeah,
bad I interrupted you, but
no,
I feel like knowing what they can do now on television with graphics and CGI and all that kind of cool stuff, Dark Shadows now would be so amazing to watch.
have who do you? I think I've given you my pick to who would play the Voodoo Master for the Shadow. Who would you cast?
Oh God, I don't know. Again, I would have to really think about it. I don't know.
I would cast Antonio Banderas for two reasons.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
For two reasons. One, he's the right age, especially,
Mm-hmm.
and two, he's the right heritage, actually. So he's the right. So the Voodoo Master is from Antonio Banderas' country. But so that would be
And he's a great actor.
right. All three threats. So
Mm.
why not? But I think the biggest thing for the chat, do not do Shi Wan Khan for a fourth fucking time. Uh, don't get me wrong, a great character, but it's been done in the movie. It's been done. Move on.
Yeah.
Move on. It's sort of it's funny because I was having this conversation with Mark Gilman about Godzilla and King Kong. Godzilla has a shitload of enemies.
Mhm.
Um, Kong, not so much. Like Kong has Kong's biggest enemy is man and Godzilla. They need like Warner's biggest challenge for Kong is to find him to create him new enemies because he literally has none to
Mhm.
fight against. It's like other than what was on the island with him, and it's like you're not going to keep tapping that because there's not that many there. So I suggested why not like Jet Jaguar or something, since I mean there are in Godzilla there are aliens in outer space who bring other kaiju monsters. Why not have some of them be Kong's nemesis? But I don't know what they'll do, but I hope they do something with Godzilla's easy, and I'm a bit more of a big Godzilla fan, but when you have a creature who has how many enemies, it's not hard to write that. You know what I mean?
Right, because you
Uh,
can just recycle one here, one there, instead of just doing the repetitive
right,
man versus Kong thing. Yeah.
right, and Kong doesn't have that, and that's all. That was always my concern with. Oh, now they have Kong versus Godzilla. Okay, now what? Because
Right.
like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna divide up the enemies or what?
Hmm.
But time will tell on that. But I do think with Julia though, with Julia Hoffman, I to me she's the one character that would say, "Well, is this really over?" You know what I mean? That's I think there should be something big in store for that character.
For sure, she is a huge part of that show. I mean, she's not connected. How do I say? She's not related by blood to
Right.
them, but she is huge. She's a huge piece of that show and that storyline. And I think in a way, she wouldn't want it to be over. She is obsessed with Barnabas. She loves him to her core. So she would never just let him go that easily. She would definitely find a way to keep him around, even if it's just for her.
Yeah, I definitely think she would have found a way to preserve Barnabas and make sure that he could come back.
Right,
Um,
right. And probably preserve herself. I think the
yeah,
idea of her preserving herself as well is kind of fun.
yeah. You never because here's the thing: we don't fully reveal what was all in Eric Lang's notes either. I mean, that's
Oh yes, that is a good plot point. Right. We have no idea what he wrote down and what samples he took.
I mean because he was into all sorts of things with scientific experiments. It's like, well, what else was he into? Was he sort of into the early stages of cryogenics? We don't know.
Right.
So there's all sorts with the characters of DS. It's like there's all sorts of possibilities, and then there's
Tons.
there's my favorite character who we don't see enough of, the devil. But
Who can never go away, right? He's always around and he can bring back anybody he wants.
with the snap of his little finger.
There you go. And he can be in the form of Nicholas.
I I who would you cast as the devil for Dark Shadows?
Oh my God, that is again. Ooh, Ray Fiennes.
Yeah,
That was easy, actually. I thought I'd need more time, but no, Ray Fiennes is just a very like he knows how to play sinister. Like I don't think anybody right now. And there are times where he's supposed to play someone more sympathetic, and he always comes off horrible, like in a good way. So I
yeah,
think he'd be a great devil. Yeah.
yeah. He would. He would. Ray Fiennes. Here's the thing too. He see now. I always when he was younger, I wanted him to play Bond, but
Hmm.
that never happened. He did play M though,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
so oh my god. But yeah, people need to remember James Bond wasn't a muscle bound idiot. Um, no to the people who own Bond now. But anyway,
Yeah.
so not that they'll listen to me. What the fuck do I know? But anyway, so I do think that they, for any fan, my suggestion would be if this happens, because I'm not a mind reader, neither are you. We don't know if it's gonna happen,
right?
but be patient. It's as hard. Look, it's just as hard for me and you to be patient.
Be patient, and if it does come out, support it. Like, watch it, because otherwise it just goes away again, and then what do you have? You don't have anything. You have a failed project, and then everyone gets disappointed.
And if there's somebody in the sound of my voice who's a Shadow fan and has lots of money, buy it from Condé Nast. They're stupid. Buy the Shadow from Condé Nast. They're morons. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. But anyway, I mean, that's what I'll say to you. Like, to have a company have something and not really do anything with it like Condé Nast does with the Shadow now is sad.
Well, that's the thing. If they create something and it fails and they lose so much money, then they become, they don't want to do it. They don't want to work with it anymore. And that's the sad part, is that they don't really see potential in things that don't make money. Just because it's not going to, fill up your bottom line doesn't mean it's not good. You just have to keep supporting it as a company, as Condé Nast should.
Right.
And and nourish the person who's creating the story and give them support so they can create something good. Otherwise, you just you watch shit fail, and that's awful.
Yeah, just like I watched the new Shadow novel fail. But
there you go.
fucking shit. Oh well. We'll move on, and I won't want to strangle anyone in Condé Nast any more longer. But yeah. So, dude, honestly, great book 3. My hat's off to you, man. You got a hell of a story here.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you again for reading it and giving me some of that feedback. And also taking the time to read them on tape. That is a lot of work, and I am just bow down to you for that. That's a lot, and I so appreciate it. You've given a lot of people, my story through your show here, which is so important, and I really appreciate it. You have no idea.
I have a lot of fun I enjoy reading. So
I love listening to you read it because it's so cool I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that part. Oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
I have a fun little. I'll say this, because when I bring the Desert Rose Killer back, he's going to go up against a serial killer, and how that's going to be more done like the second story is going to be done more like a slasher, and that's what I'll say.
All right, I like a good slasher.
Well, and there's other people involved that are getting pissed off about all of it, but
well, you know me, I will be there to read it, support it. That's what I do. If people support my stuff, I will support their stuff. It's we have a little community of writers that really need support, and it's my pleasure to help anybody out. And I love your stuff. Like I said, you have the best imagination I have ever seen. The stories you come up with are I could never write a sci-fi. I've told you that 1,000 times, and you do the best sci-fi, and I love it. I'm so excited that you're going to come back with something, especially as a Rose Killer. That was a good one.
I did push back Riders in the Sky because I'm introducing a whole new race of people, but a chapter of Cat People will be up sometime this week.
Yes.
But
yes.
And then it'll be Riders in the Sky, and then it'll be Shadows of Reaper's Town, which chapter 2 is going to have more humor and comedy in it and stuff like that. But because I'm introducing a witch of my own in chapter 2.
Oh, nice. Let's talk about Cat People. Cat People is so good. Like, it just reminds me of like those not old, but like those 80s, like, how do I explain it? It's like those 80s, like, oh gosh, like thrillers, like you watch them and they're in New York City and it's all this like grimy darkness, but it's very sexy at the same time. That's what that Cat People kind of reminds me of, those mystery thrillers back from the 80s. I love it.
I wanted to, because the original Cat People, the one from the 40s, Val Newton is the producer, is about suggestion. So I wanted to keep part of that early on, but I did want to reveal, hey, no, this is really going on. And where I wanted to reveal it, I did reveal it, which was where these two muggers come down and they're following Tara, and she just turns to them, and she's only got this little like coat on, and she's naked underneath, and they're just like, oh, like they weren't expecting that of her, and she starts touching one of their faces, so they just drop their knives, thinking, oh, this she's just looking for a good time.
Right.
And no, she just starts kissing one, then their mouth turned to teeth and starts killing them, and because she's a cheetah. But there's other animals involved in this as well that's going to be revealed in the next chapter with the three laughing women. But
okay.
And there's another, I'll say this, there's another cat following her movements around. There's this other cat lurking around New York.
Oh.
And so he's sort of following Tara around without her realizing it, but I've somewhat revealed him, but I haven't revealed what kind of cat he is. So
okay, yeah, I'm excited. I love that. I really like the story.
It's something I've been wanting to do because I'm a fan of Val Lewton and the original. I have the original Cat People on DVD, so
all right.
It's a fun movie. I've seen the remake's good too, but I prefer the original. Now, have you ever seen the remake of Casablanca?
No, they remade that?
A movie called Barbed Wire starring Pamela Anderson.
Oh my god. I did not know that. I will tell you this, and this is going to be a scandalous quote from me, revelation. I don't actually like Casablanca.
Really?
I don't. I watched it and I was so bored. That's horrible. I know. People are going to come and take me away to some kind of prison for saying that out loud, but I really did not like it.
How far is Alcatraz from you? Anyway,
it's literally in my eye view. I can see it right now.
We're going to make John write his stories from there. Like,
know, that's horrible.
You just sit right here and no, I do hear you, though. I enjoy it. Here's what's weird though, too, with Barbed Wire. Even though the movie's not great, they do get, because Barbed Wire is set in the future. They do give the sense of danger that there is a threat to the people who are trying to escape. So they do keep that, at least. They don't keep much the fuck else.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's a far difference. I had no idea that it was a remake or even based on that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's Barbed Wire is when I had watched Barbed Wire, right, like, it's funny. I didn't watch Casablanca till the year Barbed Wire come out. And I just watched Casablanca on VHS because I rented it. And they said Barbed Wire's coming out. I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll at least give anything one shot. And then I watch it, thinking, this is fucking Casablanca.
Wow.
pretty much. I mean, she's pretty much playing the character Humphrey Bogart played, but a woman, obviously. Pam Anderson, I'm talking. But it's not a great movie. If you watch it at your own risk. But again, I'll give it this credit because it does deserve this. They did keep the danger aspect of it.
And like you said, nothing else.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, too. Like, when you remake something, how do you make it different, right?
Right.
I mean, good or bad. Look, do I like the movie? Fuck no. But at the same time, I get what they were going for. I just there's a lot of other, I would not have put Pam Anderson in that role.
Yeah. She was super, like, famous at the time. Yeah. Everybody was trying to find a place for her in the movies. I think it just sort of fell in her lap, but you're right. I heard she was terrible in it.
There's this really talented actress named Gina Davis who I would have put in that role. But hey.
Yeah. Gina Davis is an Oscar winner. She would have been great.
Or if you're looking for sci-fi, because the movie is a sci-fi in a way. Sigourney Weaver was still.
Sigourney Weaver.
Yep, was still good enough. Was still young enough to do that part. Anyway,
She could play Julia.
Yeah. It's interesting. I give her credit because she's always returned to the Alien franchise, though I don't particularly love 2. 3 went more back to the slasher thing. 4's okay. But 1 is the best. One is where Alien should have stopped.
Yeah.
If you watch the director's cut, if you ever get the director's cut of Alien, it disproves the Queen, that there's no Queen.
Oh.
That's all I'll say.
All right. I think Chris has that. I might have to look into that.
But it's really they're in these pods and there's no Queen. Aliens was wrong, folks. Hate to tell. Here the only thing, Terminator, Predator, and let's see, and Alien have in common. They all 3 killed Bill Paxton. Anyway,
oh.
R.I.P. to the late Bill Paxton, but they killed his character off anyway.
Right.
But what's your favorite sci-fi sequel?
Sci-fi sequel.
Yes.
Oh man, getting me today. Maybe one of the Star Treks. I'm a Star Trek fan. I like Star Trek, so maybe one of the. I think the Star Trek with the Oh gosh, no. I think is it First Contact? Is that the first one?
The
Next Generation movies.
Yeah, that's one of the first. That's one of the. That is a sequel movie in a sense because the Next Generation is following I think the original movies.
Okay, so it's one of the newer Star Treks with Picard as the main character. I think that's my go-to.
Really, really, really good movie. Mine would I love Predator too because it's more of a slasher than the first one. It's more scarier than the first one, and yes, Danny Glover is very underrated. No, he does not. No, he does not have Arnold's biceps. But I don't remember Arnold having a space shank off of a fucking frisbee, either. In defense of Danny, dude, he has the Predator's like killer frisbee in his hand, and he's like battling them in the fucking spaceship. I mean,
Danny Glover's from Oakland. He's our hometown boy.
Him in that movie. Him fighting that Predator is interesting. And I love how there was a reviewer who was reviewing this movie, and I watched it. And when the Predator injected himself with space steroids, they played the Ultimate Warriors music. I laughed, but I fucking howled. I was like, "That's funny," because the Predator loses an arm in the movie. Fucking Glover cuts it off. He's like, you know how the Predator has that bomb on his arm. Well, Glover takes the frisbee and they're hanging off the side of a building, and Glover just cuts his arm off, which is cool as hell. But yeah, that's my favorite sequel ever is Predator 2. It's really good. And by the way, though I love Ghost in the Shell copied from that movie. When the Predator kills King Willie, you see the Predator walking through water, and it's like there's electricity. If you go watch the first Ghost in the Shell movie, they mimic that scene.
Oh, wow. All right. I didn't know that.
In a sense. They don't have a King Willie, but they mimic how that gets done.
Okay.
But, so, yeah. Very, very underrated sequel. But I love your pick. I love your pick. Is there, for To Be Night and Beguile, is there anything you want to add?
Gosh, I'm just really, really happy that people have been reading it and enjoying it, I hope. And I hope everyone comes back for book 4. I want to write it probably next month, finish it up, and have it ready for the spring. So if anybody that is listening wants to read it, please do. And I am very, very grateful for your help as well.
I love reading, so I'm enjoying your story very, very much.
Thank you again.
Link for To Be Night and Beguile will be in the description box. Go read it. Go check it out. Very, very, very interesting story. I'm really enjoying all the characters you have here. And I really enjoyed the setting on an island, and that's something that, I know Dark Shadows is set on a coastal town, but this is actually set on a goddamn island, and that's some scary shit.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you this, as a kid, I was always scared of islands. But so, like,
Everybody's trapped, right? You're all trapped on the same spot. That was kind of the idea.
see, like, that's like when I was a kid, like Gilligan's Island was in rerun. And I was always scared to watch that show, even though it was a comedy. Like, they're on a fucking island. They're on a fucking island. Like, someone could just come on a, like, some could be on an island. A serial killer could be on her. You don't know,
Yeah.
But my mom's like, you're reading too much into it. Just watch it. It's just like, fuck. But yeah, islands have always creeped me out as a kid. So I love how you have an island setting here. It's really cool, and really dark. But great story. Link will be in the description box. And before I let you go, thank you for giving me your time. I know your time is very valuable, but so thank you.
No, absolutely, and thank you again for bringing me on and letting me chat about my little story. I appreciate it so much.
It's very, very good. Link, guys, for Benight and Beguile will be in the description box. If you want to go hit up John Phillip BettenCourt, he's at Pop Rag on Twitter, at Benight and Beguile on Twitter. He's also on Facebook. Go follow him. Go give him a friend request and go read his story. Really, really good stuff. John, man, have a great night, dude.
You too. Take care. Say hi to Julie.
I will. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.